All right. I'm here with Zachary Stevenson of the O Boys and a lot of other things. We were just saying before we started that I don't remember exactly what you said, like your fingers are dipped in a lot of pies or something.
Yeah, it was kind of dirty. It was messy, not
Yeah.
dirty, but I think I used the expression "I have my fingers in a lot of pies." Do people still say that? Is that a
That's
regular
not
thing?
what I would have said, but I know what you
A
meant.
lot of irons in the fire, a lot of pots on the stove. I'm not sure,
Exactly.
but I I diversify. My portfolio is I have a mutual fund of musical projects. Let's put it that way to
Yes.
keep me gainfully paying the rent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was kind of blown away because we met at Farm. I
Yeah.
thought your band, the O Boys, had the best harms at farms.
Oh, wow. Did you
Yeah.
pre-plan that?
No, actually, that just
That just
came out right
flowed?
there. Yep,
Wow.
yep. You do
Can I
140 of these, you come up with cool stuff
Andy?
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Andy, can I quote you on that?
Yeah,
We can put that on our website.
that's right.
Best
That's
harms
right.
at farms?
Best harms at farm and farm,
Yes.
not plural. If I'd written the joke in
Mm,
advance, I would have found a way to make it not plural.
right.
Is
But
Folk Alliance.
if you said best harm at farm, then people would
Yeah,
think that we were harmful individuals. We were
right. That you
that might
showed up with weapons.
yeah, and we are benevolent musicians. At least we like to think so.
Yes, yes,
Anyhow,
yes.
yeah.
Well,
Sorry. Yes.
Farm is Folk Alliance Region Midwest. It's where folksters go. There's Folk Alliance International, and then there's different regions, different chapters all over the country, and musicians go to network with radio people and concert promoters and other musicians and podcasters, whatever. It's just a big networking slash showcase.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really cool, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It sounds like it could be kind of lame. I mean, in the sense that it's a business conference, it's a networking event. Yes, there's you're there for business reasons. You're trying to advance your career in a certain sense, but it's also, especially in the folk community, it doesn't feel as capitalistic as maybe some other conferences are. I think a lot of the people that are in positions of for lack of a better term, power, or with booking authority, are in it for the love of music. A
Yeah.
lot of the people that are involved in presenting concert series or festivals, just they're a lot of them are like volunteers, or they're on the board or whatever it is, but they're not in it to make a whole lot of money. They're in it to support the arts. So the
Yeah.
overall vibe there is very friendly. It's inclusive, and then when you're not doing the actual showcases, it's a jam. It's like
Right.
people are just collaborating, finding new um, musicians, potential friends, collaborators, whatever. Or you're up until 4 in the morning playing old folk songs together, and it's actually a blast. I We went 2 years in a row, and last year we were lucky to be selected as official showcase artists. So that put us on in a more official capacity, and in front of more people, and we got some bookings out of it. It was nice, but most importantly, we met you, Andy.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I think we did back-to-back showcases somewhere.
Yeah, we did. We did in Jenny and Robin's room. Yeah, yeah. So we were on at the same night, and I don't know if you played before or after us, but we caught your set, and we had mutual admiration at the end of the night, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, it was a lot of fun, and to what you were saying, it does. I mean, I've been to plenty of music things where there is that sense of, can you do something for me?
Yeah,
No. I'm gonna move on down the line. and farm
people
isn't that way.
people staring just above your head as you're talking to them. Those are the best conversations.
Yeah, especially because I feel like you and I are both probably taller than the average musician. I don't know what the back of your baseball card says, but
Oh, I'm 6 foot on the dot, uh, or 173 centimeters.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I could have been a contender, man, if I wasn't a musician toiling away in this industry. I would be a flamethrower pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. That's my team, man. I could have been.
really.
Yeah. Well, I'm Canadian. That
So you
is
right, that's
so we
everybody's team up
yeah,
there.
we got one team. So you better like it.
I'm a big Cincinnati Reds fan, and right before this podcast started, the Reds hit a grand slam
Hmm.
in the bottom of the 8th to go up 2 runs against the Seattle Mariners. And then you took us a couple minutes to connect. Top of the 9th, the Mariners hit back-to-back home runs, and now we're headed into extra innings. I'm not watching. I'm doing this. I
You
swear.
lie. You lie. I see,
It's in the
you're
corner.
wearing spectacles. I
It's in
see
the
the
corner.
reflection. You got
Yeah.
the team.
Yeah. Up in the corner, the Reds and the Mariners are in extra innings, and
I wouldn't fault you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fault you for doing it. Yeah, so you're not looking over my head to, who can do the next thing for me. You're just hoping to see a walk off.
I'm just trying to get over 500.
Aren't we all? Aren't we
Yeah.
all? What a metaphor.
It's the struggle.
Yeah.
So you are in Chicago. I mean, you just got back
Yes.
from a tour in the Netherlands, and you're in Chicago. It's where you're based.
I'm in Chicago. Yeah, I divide my time between Vancouver and Chicago. I'm kind of like, sometimes I think of myself as a bit of a Horcrux. I've got like my soul split into two places, and I'm always questioning where I want to be most of the time. But for now, I'm back and forth a fair bit. But I'm in Chicago, and that is where the Oh Boys are based, which is one of the big reasons that keeps me coming back here.
So you were mentioning your wife before the interview. Did
Yes.
you meet her in Chicago or before?
Well, yeah, she's the reason I ever came to Chicago at all. So let's rewind. So back in 2013, I'm living my merry Canadian existence up in Vancouver. No thought or aspiration to come to the States at all, really. And then I got a call from a theater company in Kansas City, and they were doing a production of the Buddy Holly story, the musical. And that's a show that I had done quite a bit already in Canada, and somebody found a clip of me doing the show. And it's a kind of unusual. Usually with theaters, there's a whole casting call and auditions in process. So it was kind of unusual for me to get an email out of the blue from a company in Kansas City, which being Canadian, I didn't even know it was in Missouri. I assumed I was going to Kansas. But anyhow, they called me up and they said, hey, we're doing this production. It's a 3-month contract. We really like some of the videos we've seen of you doing the show. Would you be interested in coming and doing it? And at that time, I had some different things going on, and I really thought it was unlikely. When I first answered that call, that I thought that I would accept the gig. But anyway, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, basically. And I thought, oh well, it's 3 months. This will be great. It'll be kind of fun. Go somewhere new. I'll do the show again. And I went down there, and on day one of rehearsal, there's a woman in that room who I thought, whoa, who's this? And sure enough, at the first break, I went to the casting list, and I saw that she was cast to play my wife in the show. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And honestly, since day one, we've pretty much been inseparable. So we fell in love that summer, and then we just found a way to be together all these years. We got married a few years later, and she was based in Kansas City at the time, but then we were both kind of ready for a change, and she had some friends up in Chicago, and that's where a lot of actors from KC, they're ready to kind of take the next big step. They don't want to go to LA or New York. You might want to give Chicago a try. So ended up here for that reason.
Well, that's pretty neat. And I've got to say too, if for most of the people listening to this podcast, audio only, you can watch it on YouTube. But if you're a friend of mine, you know that I have my looks have been compared to Rivers Cuomo and Buddy Holly. I think it's just the thick black frame glasses. But I want to make mention that if I were to walk into a party with you, no one would ever accuse me of looking like Buddy Holly. You've got the thing.
That's funny.
You've got the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's something that it just worked out. I'm optically challenged. I play guitar, tall enough with the hair, whatever. And in 2006, I was right for the part. That's when I played Buddy Holly the first time. And like most theater actors, you think, you just do that contract and then you move on to the next thing. But that show has been really popular, and it kept popping up. So I did it in Ontario in Canada first time, and then did it a couple more towns in Ontario. Then I went to Calgary, did it in Vancouver 3 times, Vancouver Island, whatever. It kept coming up, and it obviously has been very good to me over the years. It made me a better musician and performer by spending the hours doing that. And then I've met some of my best friends through that, including the O Boys. O Boys were my crickets in a production we did in Chicago in 2018, and we hit it off so well. We started coming to the theater early and just started writing our own songs, and then just kept at it. Hence the name of the band. The O Boys is reference to the Buddy Holly song "Oh Boy." So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you this has done a lot for you. And
yeah.
So you started off at Vancouver, and did you get into acting first or music first? How did that come together?
Right. Yeah. Professionally, acting was first, although personally music was my first creative joy outside of like drawing comic book characters when I was a kid. My parents put me in piano lessons, and then I started playing saxophone in the school band. And then when I was in 12th grade, I wanted to impress a girl by learning a song on the guitar. And then anyway,
that's how everyone started playing guitar.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you're a bespectacled, nerdy dude, what do? You learn the guitar, just like Buddy Holly. He was the blueprint for it all. No, but I always loved music, and I thought when I graduated high school that I would pursue music in post-secondary education. And it's funny, I was just listening to one of your podcasts with Emily, I can't remember her last name.
Scott Robinson.
Yes, yeah. And you were talking a little bit about that, having gone to school, and how she really didn't end up taking to the program. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the sense that I got. I was looking at the universities in Canada. McGill in Montreal is a big one for music, especially jazz. But I was inclined to stay closer to home, and I grew up on Vancouver Island, and the University of Victoria is ultimately where I ended up going. And the options to study music are classical, jazz. At that time, I didn't play much guitar, so I would be looking at like specializing in saxophone, or like voice would be like all classical stuff. Nothing really, it didn't appeal to me for what I liked to do musically. And so by that point, I was fresh out of starring as Danny Zuko in Grease in our high school production.
Wow.
So I thought I was hot stuff, you know. No, but I had really enjoyed the theater experience. So I thought I would go as a theater major, and that's what I ultimately did. I studied theater at UVic. I took some music courses on the side, but when I graduated, I was pursuing a path in acting and theater, not music.
And as I was looking at that, you got your BFA at
Yeah,
U of V.
yeah.
Do you call it that? Do
We
Canadians
call
I
it
don't
UVic.
UVic. Okay.
Yes, I was a U victim, is what they say.
Oh, well, and I was looking
No,
at
it's a
some.
great school.
I was looking at some of the courses. Right, you've got to do like acting for commercial. I mean, there was all these different things.
Sure.
Right, how to audition for this, how to do
Yeah.
for that. So, how well equipped do you think the degree was? And
Mhm.
I got my music degree. I went for jazz piano, and I would say that it was a great experience. I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But there was also, it's hard to stay up
Mm.
on current stuff,
Mm.
right? In
Yeah.
terms of promotion and business and
Oh,
things like that. How did the university experience go for you in terms of that aspect with acting?
yeah. Uh, Great question. I was woefully unprepared for the horrors of reality. No, I'm being dramatic. Well, they're obviously the degree had an impact. No, we you my experience was that we are kind of in a bubble in the acting program in that school. I would agree. I have a similar feeling that you described, which is that I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm so glad I went. The people that my graduating class was all of about 10 people in that acting program, right? So we're very close by the end of that program, and we actually just did our, not to age myself too much here, but our 20-year college reunion last summer. Or was that? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. But we just did it, and seeing those people again all at the same time it's a special thing. We're all still very close, and we make the space and time for each other the same way that we did when we were in those intensive studies together. Very supportive group of people. I think of them, much like my family. I can't imagine those bonds really changing significantly. I mean, obviously we don't talk as much anymore, but there's something. It's hard for me to quite put my finger on how to describe that bond, but it's unlike any other bond that I have with other friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that alone, even if I didn't pursue the craft, or I completely abandoned it, the experience that I got to share with those people and learning about who I am. These are the years you're 18 to 22, where you're really discovering who you are, what your values are, what you want to pursue, spend your time on. Those people had an indelible impact on me in a very positive way. And I think to that end, I had a confidence coming out of school that has led to any of the successes that I have had. The skills, as far as like understanding how the business works and how I should present myself and pursue jobs, was pretty limited. We were more focused, and I think probably a lot of people who've taken these degrees would probably have a similar experience, where you're learning iambic pentameter and how to create a character, read Shakespeare, whatnot. But you get out, and you're kind of uncertain with what to do as far as a business mindset. You're kind of like, at least for me, I come out thinking I can play anything, I can act any part, I can play an 80-year-old man. It's the craft. But
Right.
no one's going to cast you as an 80-year-old man in anything coming out of school, because that's not appropriate.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. So I didn't really quite understand what my casting range was or anything like that coming out. That's just something that you kind of learn over time. Okay, so the what has led to the biggest success that I had coming out of school was that in my final year, I decided that I wanted to pursue putting on a one-person show about a folk singer that I had become totally obsessed with. So in the summer before my last year, I really bonded with my dad going to some folk festivals on Vancouver Island. I was sort of like, I was into pop, punk, whatever kind of music, not so much folk. But when we went to the folk festivals, I was really impressed with how some of these performers can command the attention of an audience just with on the merit and strength of their songwriting and performance, storytelling. I remember one of the first people we saw was Jack Williams. Do you know Jack Williams?
I don't.
Anyway, fantastic blues, acoustic singer-songwriter. I was just blown away by how good he was. Just voice and guitar, nothing else. Big open stage, fantastic. So after that, I dug into my dad's record collection, and I found this record. It was "I Ain't Marching Anymore" by Phil Ochs. And I remember I had heard he did an adaptation of the Alfred Noyes poem "The Highwayman" that I used to listen to when I was a kid. And I thought, oh, I remember this is that Highwayman guy. This is cool. I put it on, and that record is, again, just voice and guitar, and the songwriting is outstanding. I love the sound of Phil's voice. He wrote a lot of topical and protest songs in the 60s, and I just went down this deep rabbit hole about Phil. And he led he died tragically 1970. He took his own life. He has a really kind of sad story, but the songs that he wrote deserve. I thought at the end, after I listened to a lot of his songs, I thought, here's a guy that none of my peers know anything about.
And he deserves more.
He deserves better. He deserves more. I want to introduce his music and tell his story to my peers, if nobody else. So I found this is a crazy kind of cosmic circumstance where I started pitching this idea for the show, and lo and behold, someone tells me there's a playwright who's written exactly this show that you're describing. And not only that, he lives in Victoria, British Columbia.
When you say exactly this show, you mean Phil Ochs.
It means a Phil Ochs one-person play, tells his story, and includes most of his best songs. Wow. I couldn't. It was insane, because I would have tried to write this thing myself, but I just, it was a phone call away, a bus ride down to to pick up a copy of the script, and
wow,
that was crazy. I mean, when I think about it now, just as I'm kind of telling it, this was a life-altering moment for me, because I'm not sure how things would have turned out had I not done this play. Because so I staged it at the school. You know, it was a handful of performances, just as a like I weaseled some credit out of it as a graduated studies project or whatever to help me graduate. But when I finished school, I really had no idea what to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had this show, and I had a purpose, you know, like the show went really well at the school, you know, and I thought I should do this places. Like, how do I do this? So I just started cold calling venues, folk festivals, most of the time unsuccessful, but sometimes they'd point me in another direction. Like, for instance, I discovered there was a festival up north in British Columbia called the Edge of the World Festival, which was on this little group of islands. They at the time they were called the Queen Charlotte Islands, but now they are they're referred to as Haida Gwaii, their native language. So Haida Gwaii, I called this whoever was booking that festival. They said, no, well, I don't think your show works in a festival, but you should reach out to the Arts Council and see if they'd be interested. So one of the first shows I did out of school was way up in these remote islands where the Arts Council produced a set of 4 shows all around that area in these makeshift little venues. And it was a fantastic experience. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to just keep doing this as much as possible. And so I had an opportunity to go to Toronto, put it on in a little cafe there. And it just kind of grew out of that. And that is what kind of made me feel like I learned how to kind of make something happen without waiting for someone to call me. And then the more you make the things happen, the more people do call you. So people say, right. Oh, I hear you've got this show about Phil Ochs. We'd love to have it at our venue or whatever. And that was everything kind of goes back to that show for me, because it was the first time that I was portraying a musician who had a story and songs to be heard. And since then I've done a lot of shows kind of like that. That's kind of the catalyst.
In Phil Ochs, not that Spotify is the end all be all of artist popularity, but even though he died, I guess almost 50 years ago, he has over 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. So he's one of those people that's not hugely famous, but has a cult following, which was probably just the right level of artist for you to be able to do this show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, his songs are frighteningly relevant now, you know? I'm still, anytime that somebody's interested in presenting something to do with Phil, I'm in. You know, his music really means a lot to me. Actually, I got to know his sister, Sunny, who's been somebody who's really dedicated her life to keeping his legacy going. As she produces these song nights of his music that I've been part of for a while. And I was just on the phone with her last week, and we're going to do a show in October together. So anytime somebody asks me to connect with by playing some of Phil Ochs' songs, I'm into it.
So you do a lot of different. I don't know if we'd call them tribute shows or just things. You have a lot of different projects.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we chatted about Buddy Holly, and that's still something you do. I think when you were over in the Netherlands, you were doing some Buddy Holly stuff over there. Is that right?
Actually, I was doing a tour with a band that in the United States is called the Fortunate Sons, but in the
Creedence,
in the Netherlands, in the Netherlands, So there's a band based out of Chicago called the Fortunate Sons. They have been around for a long time, but they have a roster of players that play with them. And a couple years ago, they asked if I would be interested in doing some John Fogerty with them, which is a totally unexpected turn for me. But it's been a really fun experience. The band's great, and we got a chance to spend 8 weeks over there in the Netherlands. Yeah, we did 41 shows, and we just got back a few weeks ago.
So the Fortunate Sons then is one of them. The Buddy Holly, Hank Williams,
Yeah,
dynamic duos. I think I
yeah,
was reading like Everly Brothers and
yeah,
had 6 others in my head. And,
yeah. Everly Brothers, Simon Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel, right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't get much better than that dynamic duo.
Yeah.
Folk City, like the 60s folk music, Greenwich Village and all that stuff. Winter Dance Party, Holly Jolly Christmas,
Yeah.
Dead Ringer,
Yeah.
which came about, described by, I believe, a Canadian publication as describing you as a dead ringer for dead singers.
That's it. Yeah.
Dead Ringer, where you're doing, Hank, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis. And so, as I was watching some of the YouTube videos of this stuff, all these different tribute projects you do, I think there's kind of like 2 different ways to cover an artist, right? There is, I want to get that AC/DC guitar tone and solo exactly right.
Yeah.
In the outfit exactly right. And then there's like, the way that Jeff Buckley did Hallelujah, where you're like, okay, well, that's your song now, buddy.
Yeah.
Where people just totally reinvent something. So you really, I guess coming from your acting background, you really embody these artists
Right.
that you take on. And, watching you do Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lee Lewis, you're sitting up straight and kind of looking out at the audience, and it looks like Jerry Lee.
Yeah.
How much time, I guess, how do you go about studying this stuff? Obviously, these are all artists that you love, but how do you go about covering a song that goes beyond the music, but it's also the look and the way they move and things like that?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, this is, I only really knew how to do it by mimicking kind of first, I guess this all stems from that acting background. So rewind to like when I did that Phil Ochs show at my graduating year. At that point, I was pretty bad, a pretty bad guitar player. I was very rudimentary. I didn't know how to finger pick or anything like that. So when I decided I really wanted to do this show, tell this story, I thought, like, I need to embody Phil as much as I can for it to be a convincing portrayal of this person. And all my acting training, that's kind of how the mind goes. Like, how can I represent this person as close as I am able, being somebody else? So that is to obviously it's sort of on a deep level find their emotional center, what drives them, but then on a presentational level, how do I sound like this person spoke? How do I play the way this person played? How do I sing the way this person sang? And of course, when it's a musician, you've got all this resource material, right? You have all the recordings they ever made at your disposal as input information. So, the first step with that show is listen to everything Phil ever recorded. Are there interviews? Listen to the interviews. And then I would just, kind of parrot some of the stuff and find the cadence of his speech, find kind of that, the tone, vocal placement is something that actors talk about a lot, or voice actors. How do I mimic? Where did I mean, it's funny as I try to talk about this now. I feel myself sounding a little bit like Phil because there is a little bit of a natural similarity in the way that we speak and kind of like get ahead of ourselves in thinking and stutter a bit. But yeah, find that tonality, find that sound, listen to the phrasing as far as the singing is concerned. And then, because I didn't really know how to finger pick, I learned it note for note, as best I could to get the sound. I didn't really know how to do it myself or make it my own, to be honest, when I was first doing it. And that was the approach. And then, with the other characters, the other people who became characters in a sense to me, I was cast to do a show about Hank Williams in Canada called The Show He Never Gave. So I kind of did the same thing with that, immersed myself in all the recordings, found that place where I could get a tone in the voice that's similar. It's kind of like finding the right guitar or the right pickup or amp or whatever. It's like, well, there's so much you can do with your voice for it to sound different. The voice is an unbelievable instrument. Everybody's got one, so it's finding where where that sound lies in each of the people. And then when there are big stars like Jerry Lee Lewis or a Hank Williams, there's video, there's TV appearances you can watch and draw from to kind of find what the body, how they lived in their body a little bit, and just spend a lot of time doing it, and until it feels almost second nature, to fall into that characterization. But it is like, for me anyway, my process is it comes from essentially mimicking at first, to find the sounds, to find the body language, and then kind of work it in more and more until it just feels very natural. So I don't feel like from the inside out, it doesn't feel like I'm putting something on. It just comes out that way because I know what it feels like to inhabit that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
A little bit.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's a neat thing that you bring to your stage performance with the Oh Boys too, that we can get into in a minute,
Sure.
where it does go beyond the music, probably because of acting experience, and you're not just thinking about, not just the music, but the presentation, which is cool and surprisingly rare. But in finishing up with the tribute bands thing, there's people, I'm sure you've heard plenty of people say, oh, if I wanted to see that, I'd just go see the real thing, or whatever, even if the artist is dead. This is a criticism that people have about tributes. So if you're doing something that's not your own version, like you say, where you are saying, I'm going to make this as close to how Buddy Holly, I'm going to move the way Buddy Holly would move, sing the way Buddy Holly would sing, use the amp he would use.
Yeah.
How do you make it your own?
Yeah. Great question. Okay. So I always felt a little, when I started doing what we would call tribute shows, I felt a little bit embarrassed about it at first. It's like, I had done, so the first tribute concert I ever did was a Buddy Holly tribute. And I had just done the Buddy Holly story in Vancouver, and a producer who puts on tribute shows called me up and said, we're doing a tribute show with an Elvis, a Roy Orbison, and a Fats Domino impersonator. We want a Buddy Holly on this tour. And it was, it was a well-paying gig. So I thought, oh, well, I'll give it a go. But I felt a little bit embarrassed, like I'm not an impersonator. I'm an actor. This is like, I make art. This is, cheap kind of entertainment. I kind of looked down my nose at it a little bit. However, when I went on that tour, again, this was, I think the first show was in a remote community in northern BC. and it was a small theater. I'm not sure how many people were there, but I remember after I had done my portion of the show, I snuck to the back of the auditorium to watch the other performers, and I saw the guy doing Elvis. And granted, yeah, some of it was like a little bit kind of cheesy, but this audience was having an absolute blast. And I thought to myself, here's a community that doesn't get a whole lot coming through here, entertainment wise. And they have a connection with this artist or this music that's special to them. And it elicits some kind of emotional response, even if it's just a surface level, being entertained, having a night out. But often it's actually deeper than that, because it is unlocking some kind of memories for them as they get to experience this music in a live setting that is greater than just putting on the record at home. And they're sharing in that experience with the people that are there, and it's a memory being created in that night out together, paying tribute to these undeniably great artists. And those artists, even if they were still alive, would never be coming up to Prince Rupert, British Columbia, to perform live. And that's the same thing when I think about like a Shania Twain or, whatever, Michael Bublé impersonator. They're bringing an experience to communities that the real artist wouldn't come to, or the Taylor Swift tributes. You think like Taylor Swift is
alive and well
and putting on these massive shows. But as we know, obviously they're very expensive to attend right now, and not everybody can get there. So, for somebody who's living in a more remote or rural place, or couldn't afford to go to the real thing, this is creating an experience for them that is memorable and really enjoyable for them. And I thought, okay, maybe this isn't so lowbrow, and I can see myself enjoying it. And then over time, I've just found my own way of doing it that feels like I can still have my own connection with the audience. That's not so people do tributes in different ways. Yes, if I'm doing Buddy Holly, I'm going to emulate the sound and style of Buddy. But when I engage with the audience, I make it my own relationship with them. And with Buddy and the other acts that I've developed over time, I've taken some liberties to make it a little bit more my own over time. Because people know, they come to the show, and yes, they want, like, they are always amazed if somebody goes to a tribute show and you go, man, that guy sounded exactly like Bon Jovi or whoever it is they're going to see. It's impressive and it's cool, and they want to like close their eyes and transport themselves to a degree, but you always know at the end of the day that this is not the real person. So I think there is a curiosity about who the person is underneath. And so the way I like to engage in my shows, doing Buddy Holly, is to infuse some of my own story into it. Which is why, like, now I've developed this show I'm going to do in about a week that is based on that review that I got, that was, Zachary Stevenson as a dead ringer for dead singers, to create a variety show that takes you through some of these characters. So I do a bit of Buddy, a little bit of Hank Williams, Carl Perkins. I'll do some Phil Ochs, Jerry Lee, and it as much as I'll embody the characters, I'm also weaving in my own connection with them and story, because that's more interesting for me, and I think it's also more interesting for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get into the original stuff, you started the Oh Boys. We kind of heard a little bit of that origin story, where the name came from. Mm-hmm. I want to make note that I did not, as the interviewer, ask the classic question, where did your band name come from? You offered that information for free. Uh,
Yeah, free of charge.
but so what's the balance there?
Yeah,
And obviously, I mean, if we're talking about finances,
yeah,
anytime you're doing an impersonation, a tribute, you automatically have some market value, right? Whereas with your
yes,
original music, you do not.
yeah,
It's hard to get it. You have to earn that market value
yes,
from ground zero.
yeah.
So what is that balance for you guys, both in your career and your goals and financially?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, this is something that I contend with on a daily basis. I think of it like I. It's unlikely that the O Boys just because I used a pie analogy earlier. If we had a pie graph of my yearly income, uh, I think it's unlikely that the O Boys could ever fill that entire pie, right? So right now it's just a sliver compared to what the income and even time dedicated to some of these other projects. But I would just want to expand that, get a little bigger piece of the pie every year if I can. I'd like to dedicate more time to the O Boys, but man, it's like this is the struggle that I think a lot of our artists face. For me, it's I've got these tribute projects that keep me pretty busy and are what pay the bills right now. But if I could dedicate that same amount of time to the original music and the O Boys and earn the same income, it would be a no brainer that's more satisfying. So this is I guess to answer your question about like what is the balance, is the balance is way off, and I'd like to improve that balance. So and how do you do that? By dedicating time and taking some risks and taking some financial hits to grow it, to go to things like farm, to invest in something like farm where you are networking, you're meeting people that can help you grow your business, your band, and hopefully have some reasonably paying shows along the way as well. Because it's like sometimes here in Chicago it's very frustrating. Like we're a good band, we are legit. Maybe I'm biased, but I think we're a good band. We can produce a professional show.
Yeah.
And when you cold call these venues that you've never played before, it's like pulling teeth. It's like I'm begging for a show, and I'm like, what do we have to do here to like play in our own community?
Mhm.
Um,
Right. Right.
it's like I'm
Right.
flying all over the place for these gigs. And even some of the O Boys gigs are out of town gigs that we've booked that are good. It's like it's a struggle to get something happening in your own backyard sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like what gives?
It's really tricky. I know a lot of us struggle with this, right?
Yeah.
And anybody who's doing original music, because it's so
It,
it's I understand why it's hard.
yes.
There's too much talent for it to just be easy.
Yes.
But it is kind of crazy sometimes where there is a threshold of yeah, you have to have your market value. Yeah, you have to put on a professional show, all these
Hmm.
things. But also there is a line of appreciation too, where
Sure.
live music is it can be underappreciated in an original music capacity.
Yes. Oh, big time. Big time. I think yeah, like so there until you have proven yourself, there's probably an assumption that you're bad.
Yeah.
It's like and There
And you
are a lot
might
of bad.
be.
You might
You
be.
might
You
be.
might be
Yeah.
bad. Like we're not into. I don't get me wrong. I don't feel like we're entitled to success, and no one's entitled to success. You have to work for it and grind it out. And we are where we're at, and that's okay. Um, what is a struggle is that all three members of the band are busy guys in other ways. Like Kieran, our drummer, is also in the acting world. He's currently doing a musical called Sunny Afternoon. It's about the Kinks at Chicago Shakes. Great show. He does it eight times a week. So he's busy, and of course I was in Europe for 2 months, so it's the band is sort of in this constant like semi hiatus for little chunks, and it's hard for us to keep a momentum going, which momentum can be very important for
Yeah, sure.
an independent band. Like we have several songs recorded, but we haven't been able to get on the same page about getting the mixes completed. And we want to add other elements to the recordings, but when we're going to do that and get that done? And it's like these things, like most people have experienced, stay in the vault so long, and it's hard to get it past the finish line. And we definitely experience that frustration frequently. Although 2 days ago we did send a song to get mastered, so
there you go.
Hey, we're moving the needle a little bit.
Yes, as long as the mastering engineer's not in the Netherlands, you're gonna get that sucker back in a few days.
No, it's gonna be fine. He's in Australia, so
yeah, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So what does the pie look for you ideally in 5 years? What does that look like?
Oh man, I mean, ideally, like in an ideal world, I quickly jump to say 100%. That said, there are things about doing the tribute shows that I really enjoy. So I don't think I would completely cut it out, unless the Oh Boys were so busy doing connecting on a different level that I haven't even really experienced yet. Maybe I wouldn't miss it. But there are elements of doing those tribute shows that I do really enjoy. But I would like for it to be more than 50%. At least, if possible. So yeah, I mean, I just love working with Oh Boys. For me as a songwriter, I find I'm more productive when I have a specific project to write for. Like with the Oh Boys, now that we have the band, I think in terms of writing for that band. Like I know what the guys are capable of. I know that like instrumentally, and I know that the harms at Farms are the main selling point, and that's what I love. I've always been really drawn to vocal harmony in music, period.
Yeah.
So I love that both of these guys are really strong singers. So I want to write music that showcases that, and I feel more motivated to pick up the guitar and write, knowing that it could be realized by this band. It's more difficult for me to write in kind of a vacuum, just as a solo artist. I find that more challenging. Although I do, I do write that. I do still write some songs start to finish just on my own. But those songs tend to not be band songs, because I'm like carrying a different energy when I'm alone and playing, know. So having these guys to send demos to, or ideas to, or just to get in a room and just start making sound, generates ideas in a very different way. Because otherwise I end up, I don't know, sometimes I'm just hard to get into the headspace of writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. One thing I guess that kind of just goes along with what you're just saying, that I noticed about the Oh Boys at Farm, and you meet a lot of people at these things, right? So, you guys sort of stuck out to me. Kind of had that band element you were just talking about. You can tell you guys do this stuff together. You live and breathe it together, and I a lot of singer-songwriters are at this thing. I
Yeah.
don't take my band to Farm. I go by myself.
Right.
And the live show can have those things where I might start it faster. I might start it slower. I played some of my songs on keyboard instead of guitar, or vice versa, just because of what was at my disposal at that showcase. Where piano's my primary, but you can't take your piano everywhere. Whatever.
Right.
Right? There's all these little factors. You see songwriters all the time say, I haven't played this song for anyone before, but what the hell, let's try it. You guys came with this very polished, you had your outfits, you had your haircuts, you had your look.
Yeah.
And you guys were matching. I think you're wearing like Waldo shirts one day.
Yeah.
You're wearing suits one day for your official showcase. And
Yeah.
there was this camaraderie, this sense of, whatever the situation is, you press the go button and we're going to go, and it goes like this.
Yeah.
And it's very, very cool. It's very hip.
Huh.
And it was very polished
Yeah.
to me. It seemed so very polished. The harmonies, the songs, all of it. It does that. I mean, I try to dress cool. I think most artists
You're cool,
think about
man.
what they're wearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you guys have a thing
Right.
where you're not just Zach
Right.
at Farm. You are 1/3 of the Oh Boys.
Yeah.
How do you create that camaraderie?
Yeah. Well, for us, like I said, we kind of got lucky because we spent all this time together doing the Buddy Holly story. So we kind of fell into the Buddy Holly and the Crickets rapport in that show as we're emulating these things.
Yeah.
This is like my whole life is like I emulate something, and then it like trickles into who I am in some capacity. So we just sort of like had this synergy as we emulated that sound and that dynamic in that show, and we took elements of that and pulled it into making our own thing. So the influence of that era in which people, they dressed up, they presented themselves, a lot of matching suits and stuff. I love that. I still love that. I mean, because it is kind of, it is a unifying factor where you say we are a band. We're not just a group of guys that play together. This is the identity of this band. It's not Kieran, Zach, and Sean. It's the Oh Boys. And so and I just think it looks cool. I mean, having matching, a matching
cool.
vibe, and it shows that there's like, I think like for me, when I see a band that's all together, in something matching, it's like it makes it more exciting, because I think like, whoa, these guys, they've prepared for this. Like something's about to happen. There's like, it's a show. It's not just like, oh, I rolled out of bed and here are a few of my songs, and they can be great songs, but like, I want more. I don't know. It like, to me, it shows a bit of a there's a respect immediately shown to the audience when you show up looking good. It's like, we are respecting that you are here to see us, and we have prepared for this moment, and we want to give you a good show. We're not just playing for ourselves for self-gratification. We're here to to have an event with you,
Yeah. Right.
together. And yeah, like that's what I love about it. I don't know. So
It's a full show.
yeah, it's a show. I come from a show busy background in a certain sense, having been in these musicals and whatnot. So like even though this is my band and it's music that I write from my experience and my soul or what have you, like I'm not just doing it for my own gratification. I still want to put on a show at the end of the day. I want it to be an entertaining band. I want it to be a show. So yeah, that's
Right.
you know.
Well, it's cool. It's cool. It's really cool. And I don't think it should be unique at these conferences
Right.
necessarily, but it
Right.
was.
Right.
And there's something very special too about the intimacy of
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put this on, let my hair fall where it may, and play whatever songs I decide to sing. There's an incredible intimacy to that too.
Totally.
And
Totally.
I have as much respect for that. It's this,
Oh yeah.
but what you guys were doing, and it didn't feel like a tribute at all,
Cool.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's not. It's original music.
Yeah.
You can tell that there are these influences from folk rock, pop, doo-wop, but you guys kind of is a very unique thing. And I loved not just the matching stage outfit, but you had the matching casual outfits too. The baseball tee,
Oh yeah.
the Where's Waldo shirt,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff was like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, we don't wear suits all the time, but we're always,
Yeah. We want to.
know,
We're intentional.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
always intentional. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah. That's the idea. And we're also shameless. I mean,
Right, you have to be.
yeah, it's like we're there to meet people. Well, we wanted, it's like when we were at the conference, we wanted to be clear that we are together. Like this is the band. So it was like it was close to Halloween. We thought this would be hilarious to dress up like Where's Waldo at the dinner event, and then people would see us all over, keep finding us,
I
but
thought
then
it was brilliant.
even if we were like, let's divide, we'll all sit at different tables, but like when people walk in the room, they'll see those red and white striped shirts all over the place in this room full of people. It'll look like a Where's Waldo book,
Yeah.
And you might get that because you got the Buddy Holly thing going on too. Some people say, you look like Waldo. I've gotten that in my life. Oh, that was part of the inspiration.
Embrace. I love it. I love it.
But yeah, it's a challenging road because I think I really do believe in the project, in the Oh Boys, but how it can get to that next level or become a greater piece of the pie is a mystery to me in a certain way. I think I'm good at thinking about marketing in a live, real human interaction kind of way, like at these conferences, but I'm not. Social media is not my strong suit. That's something that I struggle with.
Do you want it to be? Do you say when you think about social media, are
Yeah.
you like, well, good riddance, or do you say, I wish I could crack this code?
Yeah, I'm a grump kind of. Well, I think good riddance, just because I don't like it, I don't enjoy it, but I know that that's a mistake. Like
Yeah.
I totally, like when you think about what it was like growing up. I remember I went to like this indie rock show in Parksville in the 90s, and this band from Victoria was there. They were called Tree Crusher. And it was this
Cool.
like coffee house thing. And they said, give us your mailing address and we will mail you a cassette tape of 3 songs that we have recorded. So me and all my friends, we all signed up for it. And sure enough, this Tree Crusher cassette showed up with the same 3 songs on both sides. And now, when we loved it, we played it a lot. But but I never saw them again. Right, I never saw this band again. I think of the expense that this indie band went through to record these things, to press these things, to mail them to anyone who just gave their address, a little teenager. And there's no other way to reach them. It's like we have it so much better. That's what I think about that when I check myself complaining about social media in my brain, where I go like, I need to think about it as like the opportunity to have my own friggin' channel that we didn't have before. It can be your own station, right? You can make it whatever you want, and it's obviously a great tool. I just find there's something about me, my brain, whatever. I just find it difficult to get the inspiration up to want to engage with it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I know that's something that I need to work on to kind of get over that hurdle.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. What's your experience?
Well, I want to be good at it, and I do post most days, but sometimes I'm like, why, what good is this?
Yeah.
But I've also had things where, like I wrote a script and spent an entire day shooting something, spent a lot of time in it, and it got a ton of likes. Like
Nice.
I've done that a couple of times and it's done really well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like I do that thing where I sit and play my song in my room, and it's like this works for everyone but me.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not true, but that's how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting because everyone will complain about the algorithm, but I don't know
Yeah.
that it lies.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
My best songs have the most streams on Spotify. They have more streams than my songs that aren't my best songs. My
Yes.
best pieces of content have the most likes. Have I figured it out yet? Do I have my Andy thing
Yeah.
that thousands of people want to see every day? No, haven't figured it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the product or the presentation, and that's
Right.
kind of the whole mystery of it. But I think for a lot of indie artists,
Mhm.
It's the presentation.
Right.
It's figuring out. I've got the Wildwoods coming on next week, if you've heard of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
A folk trio with great harmonies. I first met them, Noah and Chloe. They were like 14 years old, and they sat in with my band at the Zoo Bar in Lincoln years and years ago. They're still together and they're married now.
Yeah.
But they do these like acoustic folk covers, and they've got like 250,000 followers on
Nice.
Instagram because they figured out the presentation. Once
Yeah.
they figured it out,
Yeah.
bang,
Yeah.
consistent.
No, that's smart. That's smart.
I don't know.
Yeah, and they probably or hopefully genuinely enjoy creating it. I think that's the
Yeah,
code
sure.
that I think is really the secret sauce. I think authenticity is always important. For instance, like with the Oh Boys, whatever gimmicky things we're doing, or like wearing the matching suits, it comes from a place of I genuinely enjoy presenting that way, not because I
Right.
think the algorithm will like it or that people will like us more if we do that. It's something coming from something genuine, and it's like that's the synergy. So I think if you can find the thing that you enjoy doing on these platforms, like if if they're genuinely finding that creative joy in creating those acoustic covers, then it's like that's where it's perfect, because then if it feels like it's sure to do, then it probably will come across that way.
Right.
And I think
sure.
that's sort of where I struggle with social media, is like when I think about engaging with it, I think of it too much like a chore, and then it's like it's not going to be very appealing for me to come on come on camera and complain about being on social media.
Right.
No one needs that. No one's interested in that.
Right.
So,
Right.
if I find something that feels genuinely worth posting, then I'll do it. But I guess I just need to find what that is on a more regular basis for it to be more effective. I don't
Well, you and me both.
know. Yeah, and no, we're not alone.
Well, I love the music. And you guys put out the EP. Listen to the Oh Boys, Oh Boys, Oh Boys. My goodness, I'm hungry. No,
Yeah.
the Oh Boys in 2023. And there's Cry Me to the Moon and Dog a Bones singles from 2024. I love the music. I love the presentation. It sticks out to me. It's great. I wish you all the best with it and the whole band. And I thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been fun, Andy. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.